Hello, hello. Happy 2025. Welcome, all of you, in this beautiful January day. What's really top of mind as we're coming into today, I want to talk about, as my favorite topic of all time, wealth consciousness, money, and especially as we're stepping into 2025, a brand new year with brand new visions, with maybe new goals, new desires, whatever it may be. This feels like a ripe time for us to revisit some really powerful wealth consciousness stuff. The minute that I put the stake in the ground that 2025 was the year for expanding influence, expanding impact, expanding audience, and serving in a new way, and then putting money where my mouth was, which I invested, oh gosh, probably, I got to do some quick math, $45,000, $50,000 towards the end of November in this new vision, which we're going to talk about, how your vision always exceeds your resources. And then the minute that I put the stake in the ground and put my money where my mouth was and put my money where my vision was and mobilized resources to be able to say, I'm freaking serious, Goss, God, universe, source. I'm in, I'm committed, I have faith, I trust, and I believe. That is the moment that everything started crashing in from all the other sides, with just crazy, weird things happening financially. Appliances breaking, furnaces breaking, cars breaking, you name it, it was probably happening on some level. Just weird stuff. Water softeners. It's crazy. You can't even so I made this 50-ish thousand dollar investment in my business, and then we had an additional like $30,000 of crazy unexpected expenses pop up all at the same time. So that is what happens. That is a part of our evolution and stepping into new versions of ourselves. In fact, if the shit is not hitting the fan in your life or in your business, you are likely in a place of complete level 3 consciousness maintenance, because it's the dark nights of the soul, and it's the shit hitting the fan, and it's things going in the seemingly opposite direction that tells you are stepping up and stepping into a brand new level. You are stepping into a new vision. You are stepping into a new version of yourself. You are evolving. It is a beautiful, amazing thing when law of contrast, law of opposites shows up in our life. But most of us are so freaking terrified of rocking the boat or having this stuff pop up. We don't know if we can handle it. We don't know if we're really be able to get through the other side of it. Yet it is the exact thing that is the shedding of the old, the shedding and releasing of the old version of yourself in order to step into, embody, and live the new version of yourself. And you can reflect back on your life and in your business, and you can recognize that in the times that it was the hardest, when we don't make it mean anything, when we know that is a part of the ultimate process of evolution, we don't get the light without the dark. This is the parts of ourselves that are coming back home into fuller expression and fuller connection and fuller truth. This is the evolution of our consciousness. We don't get to evolve consciousness without the law of opposites, without the contrast, without the dark, without the stuff that we're keeping in our subconscious. And so that really is what's standing out to me about this year already. And it is the thing I desire for all of you. In fact, sometimes I find it hard almost when clients hire me, and maybe you have this experience with your clients as well, is that sometimes I can warn people, usually when clients come into partnership with me, the shit will hit the fan in their business and in their life. It is absolutely inevitable. And if it doesn't, it's because both of us are probably playing too small. I'm not stretching them enough. I'm not being bold enough in my coaching, and they're not stretching themselves enough and being bold enough in the pursuit of their desires. And so if that happens for your clients, sometimes we think when we're coaching people or facilitating transformation, well, oh, it's such a great breakthrough. It's such a great shift. Those great breakthroughs and break shifts don't come with all of the shit coming up that is asking to be seen, asking to be acknowledged, asking to be accepted, so that you can embody that next level version of your life. There is no getting to the next level without it. And when you start to recognize, when you start to have boatloads of clients all leave at the same time, which is actually what else happened in my business in November, is 5 of my clients all said they wanted pause or they were complete for now. And that's a significant number of clients all at once. And that's how it is the universe. When things start falling away, when everything starts the shit's hitting the fan all over the place, that's how you know it's the universe. You're being called into the next level. and we can do two things with it. We can freak out and catastrophize and, oh my gosh, I've made a big mistake, and we can go in and make it mean all of these things, or we can just recognize for what it is. It's the wave, it's the slingshot, it's the pull back so that you can slingshot beyond where you were before. So that's why today we're going to be talking about my favorite topic, money, because I believe that it is one of the highest creators of stress in humanity, and that means it also holds the most potential for the evolution and ushering in the next level of consciousness, because it is one of the most triggering, judgmental places that we play. Okay, so this has been really fun. I did a post late last week on money and how it's one of the most powerful tools we have available to us, and how most high conscious coaches and entrepreneurs actually dismiss this tool because it's not about the money. And I love playing with pendulums. In fact, this is how we're reconciling duality. This is how we find the middle way, is that we play with pendulums. And so what I see so many high conscious coaches do, and likely this makes sense because we've been on the path where we pursued career and achievement and financial success, and maybe we even achieved all of those external measurements of success in previous careers, and we felt empty and frustrated, and gosh, how could I have all of this success, material success, and all of this stuff in this previous existence, but actually be the most miserable I've ever felt? And so what do we end up doing? We're like, okay, so money and external success does not make me happy, does not fulfill me, does not bring me joy. In fact, it just burns me out. It makes me tired. It makes me crabby. It makes me a horrible person, makes me selfish, makes me not be connected to the things that are really important to me. So I am done pursuing success and money at the cost of who I am, at the cost of the things that are really important to me. So what do? We swing the pendulum all the way over here, and we're like, I'm going to build a business full of purpose, full of service, full of impact. And we start to bypass or neglect material success over here. So then we start doing all these things. We start underpricing, undercharging, all in the name of service. You swing the pendulum to the opposite. These are the pendulums that I see play out. So now high conscious coaches and entrepreneurs, they're meditating, they're staying tapped in, they're super creative, but they are fucking terrified. Underneath all of that is a frequency of being terrified, of being sucked back to the other place that was not fulfilling. So what do? We actually repel material success, and we repel money because we think that if we pursue that in any way, shape, or form, we're going to lose ourselves again. And so then we build our entire business on the back of fear, and it's now avoiding the thing that we used to do. So we're carrying the past with us forward, and then we start to feel irritated, resentful, like we're giving more than we're receiving, like people aren't seeing our value, like people aren't willing to invest. This is when you go into sales conversations and you get objection after objection, and you're like, I'm just trying to help you, I'm not even charging that much. And then that same person that said no to you goes and hires a coach at 3 times the investment, even though they told you they couldn't afford it. That's all your energy. Objections are our energy. And so you can see this pendulum. It's like we're running away from the past, but when we're running away from the past, we're recreating it. And all of a sudden we experience frustration and irritation and resentment and bitterness and invisibility and feeling misunderstood. And we're experiencing all of the same emotions, just under the same direction, under this new direction that we were experiencing over here under the old direction. It's everywhere we go, there we are, because we never actually went deeper into the shadow, the dark, the stuff that was really happening over here, because it was never the money and the success. It was the pursuit. And now there's a new pursuit, and it's the pursuit for service and impact. But the pursuit is the thing that is creating the disconnect. So the middle way that we're talking about, and so this pendulum that we've been playing with and going back and forth, and how we're just recreating the same reality, it's if we look at both ends of the pendulum, what we see is the exact same thing, even though they look the opposite. And what we see is judgment. And judgment creates separation. And so over here, we were judging money as the almighty savior, the thing that was going to give us the time and the freedom, the accolades and the success and the awards and everything over here. We thought that was going to give us something that then it ended up not giving us that. So we actually put money on a pedestal and success on a pedestal, and it was, you are good. You give me good. We judge that as good. We put money higher than other things. We put success higher than other things. And that pulled us out of alignment with the truth of what was really important to us. My favorite experience of this was, and I've told the story over and over again, but I come back to it as my constant reminder every time that I start getting pulled back into that, to get back to the center, so I don't just keep swinging a pendulum back and forth, which is what's really exhausting. Is I remember my business just completely dried up. This was many years ago. And I had pursued and pursued, and I'd created a six figure and a multiple six figure, and I was on my way to seven figures. And I was like, no matter what I had achieved, it was never enough. It was a moving target. There was always something more. I still wasn't really achieving what I thought I could. And I always thought that the next level I'd feel happy, but then I would feel like the target just moved and I'd just start chasing the next target. But I remember clear as day, there was one day I was sitting outside. I actually slowed the heck down enough to receive a higher message. And the question that ultimately popped into my mind was, what is all of this for? What are you thinking the prize is at the end of all of this? And I had the answer. The prize at the end of all of this was my family and freedom, time freedom, financial freedom, safety, security, financial peace, abundance, living, using money and success and all that stuff to live a full and vibrant and radiant life. And then that's when the wisdom dropped in. And the wisdom was, and can't you have all of that with none of that? And don't you have all of that with none of that? Isn't the thing that you're chasing the thing that you already have? And it hit me. I already had everything right in front of me. I was chasing it, thinking it wasn't. I couldn't see it. And this is like gratitude and appreciation washed over me. And I felt a new level of freedom from pursuit, because everything that I thought I was trying to achieve, I already had. My family was right in front of me. I had time. I was at choice with my time every single minute of every day because I had left my job. I had no expectations on me. I was at complete freedom. And financially, regardless of, because my business had dried up, now I was like at the point where I was like, I was at a red line where it's like, if it goes to this place, I must get a job. And financially, when I really got present with the exact moment, I still had everything, even though there was no money coming in. I was provided for in the moment. You're pulled back to the present moment and you realize, in this moment, no matter what I think I want for 2025, no matter what my goals are, in this moment, is it not true that you have absolutely everything that you need? And you have access to everything that you want? And that access is based on your values. It can be connection, it can be expression, it can be spirituality, it can be freedom, it can be accomplishment, achievement. It doesn't matter what it is, but you have access to any and everything that you value right here and right now for free. Even if you never make another dollar in your business, you still get to experience it. And that wisdom was like so clear. So now that's the middle way. You don't need any of this. There's no pursuit over here. But guess what else? You also don't need impact, and you don't need service, and you don't need other things that we're trying to prove to ourselves. And so now you have a place of neutrality in with money. Whereas now, and we're going to talk more about this, now you get to play with money, not because it was so good and going to be your savior over here, or over here because it's so bad and it stole everything from you. You see the pendulum? When we look at, I'm going to go back to this, when we look at both ends of that spectrum and how we swung from one way to the other, because then over here we're like, screw that. I'm not being seen or recognized. My values not being appreciated. I'm going to go back over here and start hustling. Screw that. Like, we just swing this pendulum back and forth and back and forth. Most high conscious coaches end up just getting stuck over here under the guise of impact and consciousness and caring and service. And this is my give back and blah, 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 blah. But underneath all of it is still just carrying all the past stuff, because what it really is, it's a repelling and a judgment against money and success now. So over here, we judged it as good. Over here, we judge it as bad. So what's the exact same? If we look at it just through the lens of frequency, it's judgment. And what does judgment do? Judgment creates separation. Whatever we judge, we create separation from. And so we are separating ourselves from money and success on this end, and we are separating ourselves from money and success on this end. And then if we go even deeper into this, and this is where it got really interesting, I got into a very interesting conversation with a fellow coach about this who had some opinions about my post and how basically it was very clear. It was like, you should not be passionate about money, was the message. And I said, I'm wildly passionate about money. And I'm just as passionate about money as I am about impact. So now is where we started playing with, why are we passionate about money? Because when we remove judgment and separation, we start to experience oneness. And if we look at level 7 energy, and if you start to even play with the idea of level 7 energy around money, it's oneness. There's no separation. And when we talk about absolute passion, what it means is I'm just as passionate about that leaf on the tree as I am about my child that I gave birth to. There's no hierarchy because there's non-judgment. So there is nothing better or worse than the other. So if we're making impact better than money, we're still judging. And if we're making money and success better than whatever else, we're still judging. And whatever we are judging, we are creating separation. And we can see this and understand this so clearly when it comes to people. If I judge you for some aspect of who you are, whether you are in shadow or in your power, I am creating separation. If you judge me, you are creating separation. The same is true for absolutely everything. So this particular coach shared an analogy with me. If you're really thirsty, what you care about is having access to the water, not the bucket that the water is in, meaning the bucket being the money. Or money is just the capacitator to electricity. That's just this thing. That's just the bucket. You hear that? That's just this thing. And so I said, actually, I'm passionate about the bucket too, because I'm just as passionate about the bucket as I am about the drink of water. And I'm just as passionate about coming out of a faucet as I am a glass or a bucket, because there's no hierarchy. They're all one. They're all the same. So how do you come into oneness with the thing that you know actually can be used to amplify what those values are? And so the neutrality that we start to find is in, I can have wholeness and completeness if my business goes nowhere, if I never make another dollar, if I never sign another client, if nothing actually matters, if I stop taking all of this so seriously and I just get really present in the here and now, I am whole and complete. There is nothing outside of me that could make me any more whole or complete than I already am. But that doesn't mean I'm going to dismiss money. So I can also say that I can experience wholeness and completeness with nothing, and I can experience wholeness and completeness with $1 billion. It doesn't change or affect that. Now, I can take this a little bit further, and if I were to say that I can live my values fully expressed with zero financial resource, living under a bridge, scraping the garbage for food. Really, if you just let yourself go to worst case scenario, it's like you start to play with what still remains. What do I still have access to? And that's where you discover your wholeness and completeness. And if you just let yourself sink all the way into worst case scenario, and then what would happen, and then what would happen, and then what would happen, and you get to the bottom of it all, and you're in basically what you thought would be like your living hell, and you say, what still remains? And you're like, I can make myself laugh. I can smile. I can feel good. I can be connected. I can feel joy. I can feel happiness. I can feel freedom. I can feel all of it. Even if I'm living in what I would have thought would have been my absolute hell. Even if I lost everybody that I love and care about. Even no matter what. If you really let yourself go there, you recognize the power that you have to be whole and complete with absolutely nothing. You're falling all the way into nothingness. And so then there's this other end of the spectrum, whereas it's okay, so if I'm whole and complete there, how might I also experience new expressions of this wholeness and completeness and use money as a tool to do that? And so I use this example over and over again because one of my biggest values is beauty, appreciation of beauty. Many of you have the same experience. I know because we're in such like energy. Like you can be out in nature, or you can catch a sunset or a sunrise or a bird or something and literally be moved to your core to tears because it's so stunningly beautiful. Or you can see somebody walking across the street and you can feel your entire heart just expand with love and they're a complete stranger. And you're like, what a freaking gorgeously beautiful soul I'm witnessing right in front of me. And I don't even know why this is moving me to tears. So you're experiencing all that and that doesn't cost a thing. And I can also recognize that I can use money as a tool to amplify that value even further, to give me more experiences and expressions of beauty. I could use that to bring fresh flowers into my home every single week. I can use that to make my environment pristine and inspiring and gorgeous with amazing design and comfort and little luxuries that give me a new expression of beauty. I can use that money as a tool to amplify this value of beauty. Let's take spirituality, another one of my big values. I can experience my spirituality and have wholeness and completeness in spirituality with absolutely no money. And I can recognize that there's things that really nourish my relationship with God, universe, source. There's things like Palo Santo, or I don't really use a lot of the spiritual tools, but gosh, there's certain essential oils that I can feel the frequency and the vibration. Really powerful music can connect me more deeply with source. You know what really connects me with source? Freedom, spaciousness, the ability to only work with a small number of clients and charge premium rates and receive very phenomenal money and resource through the work that I'm doing with clients, because that buys me the spaciousness to nourish my channel. And when I nourish my channel and I nourish this spirituality and I nourish this connection, it feeds me and fuels me to be able to serve even more fully and more powerfully. And that took money to be able to do that, because now I'm fully provided for and I've got a business model that allows for a ton of spaciousness. I know a lot of times people will be like, oh, I'm sure you're super busy. And it would be embarrassing if y'all saw my calendar. I'm like a little bit embarrassed about how much freedom I have. I can't really say I'm embarrassed, but I keep it a secret because I think there is still there's a little bit of energy there. Can this even be real? That you consistently are generating $20,000 to $40,000 a month and you literally have 4 meetings on your calendar every week. How's that even possible? That's what money allows me to do, to nourish this channel and to create this spaciousness or nourish freedom. And then all of a sudden the values start melding together in this beautiful way. And when you think about it, it's like now money can be neutral and you can use it and dream and envision how it could amplify and create new experiences of the things that you value, not because you need it. You don't need it, but because why not? Why not experience other expressions of your values? Why not see all of the different ways that are available to you to experience the things that you care most about? Let's say your value is connection. How might you be able to use money to amplify connection? We'll use that in business. If my value is impact, I often say movements take money. Guess what? There's a lot of really amazing, well-oiled systems and things available to us to expand our impact. One of them being paid ads. But that takes money. Or you can strain yourself and try to send 100,000 fucking connect messages every single week and expand. Oh, that just sounds like freaking daunting. I really love paid advertising. Paid advertising is how I first started getting my message out into the world. I could put a message in front of 1 million people in less than 2 weeks. Can you believe that? 1 million impressions on a piece of pure, potent, powerful expression. That took money. Or I can show up for 30 of you for this for the cost of a Zoom subscription. So when you start playing with money in this way, start thinking about how can you use it in such a deeply aligned way, but it only amplifies. It's the only word I can come up with. It gives more expression to. Not because it has to, but because it can. So as you're thinking about setting financial goals for 2025, think about setting them in this way. Not the elusive 6-figure business or 7-figure business or multiple 6-figure business or however much a month, or however much you used to need a month, but you still think you need it because that's what your job gave you. This is how I see most people setting financial goals. So my suggestion is to do an exercise that I call money mapping. And money mapping is getting to the bare minimum of wholeness and completeness, allowing yourself to go to seriously. What is the absolute bare minimum amount of resource, financial resource that I could have and still live such a full life? And so that's like the bare minimum. And the game here is to see how freaking low you can go and to really give yourself permission to worst case scenario. When I did this, I went all the way to living on the streets with my family in the cold winters of not 55-degree Minnesota, of -20-degree Minnesota. And then I asked myself, how true is that? And then I realized actually we have other options to not live on the street. So I took it to worst case scenario. And then I asked, like, how true is that really? And it's we have families and friends who have space in their homes. We have investment property we could live for free in. So that's actually not even true. So my life already got more comfortable than worst case scenario because even that worst case scenario was a complete lie. It was not even true at all. And so you're going to go there. That's the first money map that you're doing. Then the second money map, I haven't actually talked about this money map. This is the bare minimum to live, to have your basic needs met exactly the way that they are right now. Your housing, food, and clothes. And eating ramen noodles, but you're still fed and you're feeding yourself with your resource, right? This is your middle money map. It's what is the bare minimum required for me to keep the roof over my head, my family fed, and clothes on my back. And you want to get that number as low as possible too. We're not saying, oh, but I must have my Viore. I'm not going to part with my Viore leggings. And this really, you could wear Walmart leggings. You would still have the same warmth. You'd still have the same fulfillment, right? Like a lot of times when I have people do this money map, they're like, but it's really important that I have this high vibe nourishing food. And I get it, but that's really like your dream. That's like your dream map. That's not, I must have this or I can't survive. So the exercise is really like, how low can you get your expenses and still maintain the house over your head, the food for your family, and the clothes on your back, your survival needs, your bare minimum. And so again, how low can you go over here to losing everything? And how low can you go in the middle of just sustaining your current existence where you don't have to have upheaval in your current life, really? Is it really going to break you to eat ramen over a steak? No, not really. So you're playing with that. You're still getting food in your belly, you're feeling fullness, you're having a meal with family in a warm, comfortable home, right? So you can see, you have to play with that. And then the third map is your heaven on earth map. And the third map is where you take your values and you start to make them tangible. And so if your value again is beauty or spirituality or connection, you think, what is the craziest expression I can think of for connection with my family? But you have to actually want it, not just because you like, how far can I stretch it? Because, oh, I could have a private jet and fly to the Maldives on the weekend. But do you even want that? Do you even want to fly in a private jet to the Maldives? Or is that just because you're like playing the game of how far can you stretch it? So it has to be truly a heart's desire, something that when you think of it, you're like, I can feel the expansiveness of that being a part of my reality. And it's aligned to your values. It's aligned to your values. And so those are the three money maps that you start creating because now you're giving money a place to land. And these are aligned financial goals. So a lot of times when people do even this heaven on earth money map, and still to this day, when I do this heaven on earth money map, truly, if I'm dead honest about, there's a place where it starts to get too much and you feel your nervous system actually react. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like, what is the perfect and right amount for your soul is really what we're getting at. And what is that range? And so you want to hit that point where it feels expansive and it feels yummy and juicy and like ridiculously new ways of expressing your values. But if you stretch it too far, you'll start to feel like it's like actually that starts impeding on a different value in a way, or you just start to feel this constriction. So you want to stretch it. Almost every time that I have somebody do that, they are amazed at how little amount of money is required to live their heaven on earth. So they're like, oh, I really want to have a 7-figure business, or I really want to have a 6-figure business or a multiple 6-figure business. And they just are throwing numbers out there because they think that's what it's going to take. But when you actually get very practical with this exercise, you can be surprised at how little it really takes to live your heaven on freaking earth reality. Now, this is always evolving and changing. But ultimately, the other thing I want to say about this is as high conscious, intuitive entrepreneurs, if you allow yourself to really live in the intuitive space of operating your business from intuition, you always create the amount of revenue to match the desire. You always create what is required for you to fulfill your desires. So this exercise, what it's doing is it's already expanding what intuitively you can create in your business. And now it's not like now you're in the game. And so if we don't do heaven on earth, we can literally receive no money because we are in our wholeness and completeness map of not needing anything. So then there's no creation there, which means there's no further expression of your values, no amplification of your values. And creating this and getting clear on this and being able to see it and feel it and the expansiveness of it is where now you are unlocking new creation paths and new opportunities for creation in your business. So your 2025 financial goals are very intentional, very clear. And that desire and that clarity is the catalyst for the co-creation of it. And the alignment is the catalyst for effortless co-creation of it, as opposed to hustle, push, force into something that you don't even know if it's what you want or don't want. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is you always have the exact resources that you need, or the resources are always available to you. And most of the things, even on your heaven on earth map, you probably already have the resources to receive here and now. And sometimes we deprive ourselves of that because we make this exchange with money. And people do this. I hear this all the time for people who want to start their business and they're still in their job. Once I know my business is viable and sustainable, then I'll leave my job. Once my business has replaced my job income, then I'll leave it. Guess what? If there's any if this then shit happening in your business, you will always be waiting. You will always be waiting because that little safety and security and certainty that you're looking for is a complete lack of self-trust and trust in the universe. The universe, God, universe, source loves to surprise and delight. It loves to defy all odds. It loves to have things that made no freaking sense to you feel miraculous. We don't leave any room for miracles if we've got it all plotted out in our brains about how it needs to go in order for us to feel safe and secure. So I actually just did this with a client a few months ago. She had been wanting to leave her job for 2 years and she's hiring you. This is the time. This is the time I'm going to leave my job. I'd like to leave by March of 2025. And we did this money mapping exercise. She got it down to her bare minimum. And she was already had some contract coaching through like being a bench coach. And the bench coaching she was doing with her full-time job covered her middle map. And it was like, so you have everything you need already and you're working a full-time job and you're trying to get your business off the ground even more while working a 60-hour-a-week job. And so by our second session, she put in her notice and she quit her job because she had these crazy rules about what needed to be in place in order for her to feel safe and secure. But when she got really practical with money and really practical about her desires, it became really obvious. She would have stayed in that job for another 8-9 months because she had all these established rules about what needed to be in place, not even knowing that she already had everything in place to be able to leave. But she didn't think she did because she had other rules. So a lot of times people are like, I'm not going to tap into my retirement, or I'm not going to tap into doing this, or I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to do that. And that's just all fear. That's just all static and distraction. Because if you have the genuine desire for it, you have the resources right now. Gus does not mess with us in this way. And that just means that it might be resources you're not comfortable accessing because it makes you believe you're going to feel less safe and secure. So for me, the vision always exceeds the resources, seemingly exceeds the resources. But it actually doesn't because the resources are there. And so for me, this was reframing my relationship with debt. And I can tell you that I have taken on anywhere from $60,000 to $100,000 in debt and paid it all off no less than 3 times in the life of my business. And in order to do that in the beginning, the first time I did it, oh my gosh, the guilt, the shame, but those were resources I had available to me, but I didn't like the idea of using those resources because of the programming I had around debt being bad. I thought I had to actually have the cash in hand. I couldn't use debt. I was very trained that if I put anything on a credit card, I pay it all off the exact same month that I put it on. And so it was like, I couldn't even see that as a resource available to me, that I built enough credit to be able to step into big visions here and now. I thought I couldn't use that resource. Same with my retirement. The very first time that I stepped into a really big vision and made the commitment to it, I tapped into my retirement, and it was something that I thought, oh my gosh, like I could catastrophize this and I'm compromising my future. But the resources were available to me. And that same amount of resource that I accessed because I believed enough in my vision and I had the drive and the commitment to figure it out, that I realized that these were resources that I could mobilize and go now and not wait for some future reality that is never ever actually going to happen, because the resources are already here for me to create the vision that I have. And even though it felt illogical or unreasonable or whatever it was, it happened to be the catalyst that then grew the business very quickly, because I was leveraging resources that I already had instead of time. Because the more time, like again, this is all personal choice, but the more time that I was investing in building my business blindly instead of resources to get the help from the people who've already done it, the more defeated, doubtful, and my confidence was taking a hit. And it was like I was going to use money for the shortcut instead of time, because I knew that if the more that I went on a path blindly, relying only on myself as opposed to support from a mentor or support from learning the things that I wanted to learn around like paid advertising, that there's no way I'd still be in business if I just tried to if I tried to hoard my financial resources that were available to me. There's absolutely not a chance in hell that I would have been able to survive being in business. And in fact, I think this is why most businesses fail, especially coaching businesses, because people are hoarding resources they have available to them because of stories they're telling themselves about what's right and what's wrong and what's good and what's bad, as opposed to just seeing it as, if you've got the vision, the resources are there. And what else it is, it's immense self-trust. When we make choices like this, when we choose to tap resources that are available to us to pursue our vision, it requires self-trust. It already inherently has a level of belief in ourselves that acts as a catalyst to manifesting the vision that we have. We don't get to manifest our desires or our visions if we don't trust ourselves and trust the universe. There's like, we have to rely on effort alone. And so that's what becomes exhausting and depleting and ultimately leads people to give up completely, is because they don't have the self-trust or the universal trust. And so they have to rely on only effort alone. And that's very fucking exhausting. That is, if you're not going to leverage energy in your business, like, good luck. We are so limited as humans. We are going to absolutely deplete all of our life force energy through effort. So you have everything you need in the now present moment. Often the resources come after the action. So again, there's resources available, and it's how resourceful can you be, and how much do you trust yourself, and how much do you believe in your vision, and how much do you believe that you are truly capable of bringing that vision to fruition. And so again, this is where I've had some fun aligning my perspective on debt as just cash flow. It's not, I don't like, who am I to judge that one level of cash flow is better than another level of cash flow? And so when I pay off all that debt in kind of one full swoop, it's like you can feel this like little vacuum happening where I free up all this capital because I pay all the debt off. And then I have a new vision show up and I leverage the debt again. And then I pay it all off again and then I leverage it again. To me, it's just capital that's available to me when I'm called into the next level, because what I believe, my resources will never exceed my vision. Just resources I'm comfortable with usually exceed my vision. And so then I'm going to access those resources knowing that, of course, it's all going to be like, it's going to quantum leap, slingshot into the next direction. What's really interesting is my current mentor is Scott Oldford, and he's promoting his book, which I highly recommend. It's called Million in the Red. And he's been an 8-figure entrepreneur for many years. And his book is really a powerful wealth consciousness book, because that's how far in the red he went before digging himself out of the hole, was a million in the red, a million in debt. And I love his perspective on debt as well. It's very much aligned. So anyways, okay, let me check in here. What questions do you have? What's standing out to you? I feel like I'm investing in vision, but it's not paying off in the last year. I feel stuck. The vision you've been investing in. So this is really interesting. The place that I'd guide you is, where's there still shadow in the vision? What I mean by that is, some people have vision that feels really juicy, but in it is little twigglies of proving worth, validating impact. It's like, where in the vision might you still be abdicating some of your some of the truth and where might the vision still be containing illusion. And so then we just want to ensure that the vision is really crystal clear and clean. And then we're investing resources not from shadow, but from deep intentionality, which is why this values work is what I've been really playing with more fully. Because there's many times I call that shadow debt. Like the first 100K in debt that I went into, most of it was shadow debt. Most of it was me abdicating my power to something outside of myself. It was coming from not being enough, thinking something else was going to be my savior, this child shadow archetype, something's going to come save me. I'm just going to throw money at my problems. So that was shadow debt. That was the first round of debt that was really challenging to pay off. There was a lot of wealth consciousness work that I had to do to be able to free the shadow debt because it just wanted to stick to me like freaking glue until I did the work. And then now, with deep intentionality about stepping into investments and clarity of vision and clarifying that very clearly before I invest in a mentor to ensure that they understand and can see what I'm wanting to do and my commitment to not be veered off track, that feels like a totally different investment. And then things open up and unlock really quickly and really quickly, almost instantly. Once I started shifting a lot of this law of opposites stuff, I got really clear on an intention, and just within 5 days, 4 clients came through. And it's just everything opens up very quickly with that clarity. How did you overcome the fear and guilt of being in debt, especially with our parents always preaching us to save money and high interest? So even when I do my money maps while I'm carrying debt, I still just put the minimum payment in. And the reason being is because one, it's the minimum money map. But gosh, I did a lot of work with this. Like that shadow debt was like, whew, that was really freaking real. That was like anxiety inducing. Like I was awake and couldn't sleep at night. It was deep, 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 deep shit. And how I ultimately really moved through that was that big shift that like it was huge into gratitude. Gosh, to be so trusted with this amount of credit available to me was a testament to my responsibility, to my choice, to my commitment to building credit and to having a beautiful relationship with money. And so I felt a lot of gratitude that banks were trusting me with credit. And I'm not saying that banks feel that way. I don't care if they feel that way or not. That's the story I'm telling myself because it helps me step into gratitude and appreciation. And then when I really do money mapping and focus on all of the money and the resource, I look at everything as an asset. And so I look at how much credit I have available to me that's unused. And I look at how much equity we have in our homes that isn't even tapped. And I look at my net worth through all those lenses. And so I start to neutralize credit because I see it as a huge asset. And it gives me access to opportunity in any given moment, should I choose to use it. And the only thing that I care about is that I'm going to use it intentionally, that it's truly aligned with my vision, and that it's following an intuitive nudge. So when I'm like a hell yes for something, I know that I have the resources available and I'm going to leverage whatever resource I have available to me. Because if I sit on it, like, why is Gus going to give me the intuitive hell yes on something if it's for some future thing? Gus doesn't work in the future. So that's just a couple of little things. I don't go into the past at all. I don't care about my past programming. It's just, how does this version of me view money? How does this version of me release judgment? How does this version of me step into unconditional love for all things? How does this version of me that aligns with universal source energy at any given time view this? How does my God self see this? Where am I making things matter and important? Because that's judgment and that's attachment. And so to me, it doesn't matter what the topic is, it can be anything. Is there a line between believing and investing in my vision and not taking enough action to make it happen? Where do we sit still and wait? Where do we punch up our actions? It's a great question. It's always both and there's always action to be taken. So we dive into this a lot in Syzygy, and actually I'm doing a retreat in Tennessee at the end of March, and I've got all sorts of expansive culminations of Syzygy on a whole nother level with the energy levels and energy centers and all sorts of stuff. So I can't go too deep into it right now, but there's a very clear balance. Once you clarify your values and the essence of your desires that are completely authentic to you, and you hand them off into a tangible goal. So this is what we started doing today. This is actually the process of co-creation. The first two steps are like, if you start taking a bunch of action without actually identifying your values and what is authentically you and you expressed to your fullest freak flagish possibility, your truest truth, all that stuff, if you're trying to take action before doing these first two steps, that's when we burn out and that's when we're in hustle mode. But if we do this in this order, if we actually, today we're just talking about money, but this is for absolutely everything. When you start uncovering your truest heart's desires and start neutralizing or making them mean anything, and then you hand them off into a tangible goal to have a place to authentically land every single one of those dollars. I'm circulating it very intentionally. I'm committed to moving the money, to not hoard the money in the direction of these desires. So now we have a very tangible goal. When you do those first two steps, you can ask Gus one question. You can say, and what would you have me do to come into alignment with this desire? And you're going to receive the guidance if you're tapped in and if you did the first two steps powerfully. And you insight and you act. And there is no waiting. So the only time that we find ourselves really waiting is one, we haven't done the first two steps. So we've got no direction and Gus is go here, go there. And we're like going all over the place and we're scattered fucking messes. Or we do those first two steps, we can always receive the guidance. Now that guidance might be to just sit still, to stay out of the kitchen and let Gus cook some shit up. But it's guided stillness. It's not like, I'm waiting. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? There's always action available. Even not doing anything is action when it is guided. And so that's really the place to play. But you can, when you are really clean and clear on your desires, there are always actions available to be taken. It's just asking for the guidance. Now, the new desire is, what would you like from me in order to come into alignment with this desire? And you're going to get some crazy freaking weird stuff. It might be like, you should go get your nails done. Okay, you should hire this mentor, but I don't have the money for that mentor. I bet they charge too much. I'm telling you, I'm telling you the pathway that collapses the time to receive the desires on your heart. You're either going to listen to me or you're not. And if you want to do it your way, go ahead and sit and wait for a different answer, or take all the action you want to try and make it happen, but it will come with a cost. Nothing popping for me as shadow. Yeah, shadows they love playing hide and seek. And oh my gosh, any and all level 3 energy, which I've gotten so fucking attuned to level 3 energy in my own life and business and in my clients. Any and all level 3 energy. Holy shit, those shadows are the best freaking hiders. They are not going to let you see them at all freaking costs. And so, yeah, the deeper exploration is, where are we settling? Where are we tolerating? Where are we keeping it safe? Where are we holding back? Because level 3, there's only one way through it, and it's we gotta let all the freaking shadows out of the closet that level 3 is keeping them locked into. And if we can't identify shadow, we're usually disillusioning ourselves to believe there's not shadow there. But if we're not manifesting or co-creating or having miracles and magic unfold in our lives on a very regular, consistent basis, there is a shit ton of level 3 energy, and it's keeping us safe from seeing the deeper, darker aspects of ourselves that we don't want to. What do you do when shadow's blocking your ability to create a vision that you believe in? So that's a great question. So most of the time we don't know what we want and we can't see our vision because we are too busy people pleasing and taking care of everybody else. And so we can't know what we want or even really know what we value until we choose ourselves first and foremost. And so that would be the first place that I'd start to go look and unlock some of that is, where am I putting my audience's needs before my own, my clients' needs before my own, my family's needs before my own? Where am I choosing belonging over truth and expression? Where am I choosing financial safety and security over truth and expression? So yeah, this is the prostitute lover archetype interplay. Because you can't create the vision until you get super authentic in your values, what you value. Like, it's no surprise that they're called values, because value comes to self-worth. When we really understand what we value, we step into more self-worth and self-esteem. When we step into more self-worth and self-esteem, we can start to see a vision of what the future is that we want to create. The vision comes to the sovereign, which is the second part of co-creation. And the first part is the lover. And if the lover hasn't done her work, there is no vision for the sovereign. So it's actually like crazy how very systematic co-creation is as we pass energetic frequency through a certain pathway. As I've been creating for this retreat and pulling together, is basically what's coming together is I like the 9 energy centers as opposed to the 7 chakras. I really like that. I don't like the rabbit hole of human design, but I'm seeing these energy centers as centers of consciousness, and every center holds all 7 levels of consciousness. And so we can have consciousness flowing in one center, but completely blocked in another center. And I'm identifying exactly how to see where the energy is blocked in really cool ways. But level 3, so I'm exploring all the energy levels through the lens of all the centers. And all of a sudden I see in my centers, I'm like, holy shit, there's so much level 3 energy. It's like crazy. I'm recognizing how much this pattern has played out in my business about not wanting to rock the boat and not stretching myself and not being bolder and not going for like really big fucking visions that I used to have on my heart. And I'm remembering past versions of myself when I've quantum leaped. I'm remembering past versions of myself that like I'm actually, brings tears to my eyes, like truth tears. I'm having songs that came to me maybe 12 years ago pop back into my field. And one of those songs is a song called Set the World on Fire. And it popped back onto my playlist and I started crying because it's, wow, do you remember her? Do you remember that one that was like, I'm here to set the world on fire? Like, I'm here to have a vision that is so fucking impactful and big. Like, where did she go? Do you remember her? Then I'm like, there's your fucking level 3. You don't even have that anymore. Like that fire in your freaking soul to just like spit truth to anybody and everybody that will listen. And I think back to, and I put myself out there in such huge ways when I first launched my business, and I had such massive visions when I was working with youth and massive visions when I stopped working with youth. And I haven't had visions like that. I'm still working through all of the subconscious shadows that level 3 has kept locked in a closet for probably like 8 freaking years. And so this idea of really focusing in 2025, continuing, and you guys have heard me say this, I was going to expand my audience 6 fucking months ago. Do you think I did it? No, I didn't do it. Not a freaking chance with level 3 energy. What's the cost? It's going to cost me my freedom and my spaciousness and all these things that are so good in my life right now. I can't do that. That's going to cost me too much. And you get, and the big vision starts to show up when you say, I don't fucking care what it costs me, because the only cost I'm not willing to pay is to play so freaking full out in my gifts and offering up my gifts, the God-given gifts that I have received, to be seen. I don't even care if people use them or get it. Just, it's my offering back to Gus. Gus has given me these gifts and these messages and these truths and this authenticity and this individuation and expression and values and the things that are me, authentically me. And I'm not even offering them back to Gus by expressing them with as many humanly possible people as I can. And so this is how freaking strong level 3 energy is, even when you teach consciousness. It holds back. And so then, yes, what do you do if you really set the world on fire? What do you do if you're fully expressed? What if you let the whole fucking world see the truth of who you are? What if you don't hold anything back? Nothing. That's when we start seeing the bigger visions again. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Happy New Year. Cheers to creating financial goals for 2025 that are in 100% alignment with who you are and the truth of who you are, your authentic, true values. I'm excited about what you're all going to be creating, what we're going to be creating together this year. Mwah! We'll see you next month.